welcome to another episode of InfoScope. I'm your host, Hannah Kim. We are back with the latest from the IT and science worlds. This week on Briefing Scope, we have many updates in the field of medicine. For example, we are going to touch upon Parkinson's disease awareness. As you may already know, public figures like Michael J. Fox, Muhammad Ali, and Robin Williams all battled Parkinson's disease. But did you know that many patients may not know they have the disease until after it has progressed? We have more on that story in just a moment, but before that, we have a story about how too much sunlight may actually reduce vitamin D levels. This is quite surprising for me personally because I always thought a daily dose of sunlight was important. Here are some more details next on Briefing Scope. A new study by Brazilian researchers has shown that excessive exposure to sunlight can cause vitamin D deficiency. The researchers explained that excessive sunbathing actually lowers the vitamin D levels in the blood. According to a year-long survey of patients of Parkinson's disease by the Korean Movement Disorder Society, 52% said that they did not know they had Parkinson's disease despite the symptoms. The society emphasized the need for more awareness of the disease and its symptoms. Dutch researchers have suggested that low thyroid function is associated with an increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The researchers stated that while the recent study shows that the thyroid hormone is involved in the development of diabetes, further study is needed to find out what exactly the relation is. New studies have shown that smoking during pregnancy will change the DNA of the baby. Babies born to smoking pregnant mothers had 6,073 places where the DNA was modified, and many of these differences were similar to the DNA alterations of adult smokers. Now, moving on to the next part of our show, we have information about a new facility that treats trees with certain diseases. I guess you can say it's somewhat like a tree hospital or even a plant clinic because this facility also replants and nourishes uprooted trees. We have more information about this awesome place in just a bit. And for some space-related news, how can living in space affect the human body? Well, for one, Scott Kelly, a U.S. astronaut, shares how he grew about 5 centimeters after living in outer space for a year. He recently returned to Earth in March and quickly lost that growth spurt, but what other changes did he encounter? Let's take a closer look on Industry Inside.
Astronaut Scott Kelly had grown 5 centimeters during his 340 days in space. His spine had stretched in the absence of gravity aboard the International Space Station. Kelly is back to his original height today, but there were other physiological changes. Living in the absence of gravity has eliminated the need for walking, as astronauts float and subsequently muscles get weak and bone density drops.
지구에서는 평소 생활을 하면서 그냥 하루에 한 3-40분 운동을 이렇게 걷기나 뛰기를 해주면 기초 체력이 유지되는 데 비해서 우주 공간에서는 자신의 건강을 유지하기 위해서는 적어도 하루에 2-3시간은 중력을 구현한 그런 장치를 이용해서 운동을 해야 되거든요.
Space radiation from sunspot explosions or collisions with other stars can increase cancer risks. The atmosphere and magnetic field of Earth protects us from space radiation, but there is no such protection in space. There is ongoing research involving Scott Kelly and his identical twin brother, Mark Kelly, to see whether being in space affects the speed of aging. The research will provide some valuable insights for the future of space travel. These pale green leaves are covered in a thin layer of white powder. A look under the microscope shows that the leaves are affected by powdery mildew, which interferes with photosynthesis. This is Seoul National University's University Plant Clinic, where scientists analyze diseases and disorders affecting trees. The center receives many requests to analyze sick trees from all over Korea. Leaves, branches, or pictures are usually sent to the clinic. Sometimes scientists will visit the actual site to inspect the afflicted trees.
보다 과학적으로 정확히 진단을 하고 그 피해를 최소화하기 위해서 효율적인 방제법을 개발하는 그런 노력을 열심히 하겠습니다.
This neatly arranged forest is made up of trees that have been uprooted because of urban development or other reasons. The trees will be relocated to parks or used in urban landscaping. Taking care of the trees around us is the first step toward protecting nature. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, is characterized by inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. ADHD is diagnosed through observation and psychological examination, but diagnosis in elementary school-aged children is difficult. Korean researchers have come up with a mathematical model for diagnosing ADHD. The researchers conducted MRI scans of the brains of 200 schoolchildren suspected of having ADHD and obtained data on the connections between different parts of the brain. Applying the information to a topological model showed unique colored patterns.
그 노드의 색깔은 질병 성분의 크기를 의미를 합니다. 그래서 질병 성분이 작을수록 저희가 확인한 결과 정상 발달 아동들이 많았고 질병 성분이 크기가 클수록 환자군이 많이 있다는 것을 알게 되었고
The blue side of the graph indicates a high IQ, while the red side indicates a higher chance of developing mental illnesses. Should this math-based model be commercialized, it could also be used to diagnose ADHD in adults. The world's fastest supercomputer in China's Tianhe-2, featuring speeds of 33.86 petaflops, this is almost double the United States Titan. 1 petaflop refers to 1 quadrillion calculations per second. The supercomputer powering AlphaGo is estimated to have speeds of 0.2 to 0.3 petaflops. Korea plans on developing a supercomputer with speeds of 30 petaflops by 2025. Assuming the endeavor is successful, it would still be behind Tianhe-2, and it may not be competitive in the global market. At that point, other countries may be working on supercomputers capable of exaflops, which equate to 1,000 petaflops.
세계에서 제일 빠른 슈퍼컴퓨터도 한 8년 정도 지나면은 거의 이제 500위권으로 이제 떨어지고요. 또 이제 그 500위권에 해당됐던 슈퍼컴퓨터도 한 9년 정도 지나면은 뭐 일반 랩탑 수준이 되거든요.
AlphaGo is made up of 1,200 central processing units and 176 graphic processing units arranged in a parallel connection, and it's worth noting that AlphaGo can be considered a form of cloud computing. While AlphaGo harnesses the powers of numerous computers, experts say that putting all those capacities into one supercomputer may not be the wisest solution.
Well, I hope that Korea's first ever supercomputer is a success. I mean, I thought Korea's computers were super fast, but even faster sounds good to me. It's now time for our next segment, Take a Peek. If you remember last week, we shared a story about a drummer who lost an arm in an accident, but thanks to a robotic arm, he can now play the drums again. Well, this week we have a story about an artificial finger that is capable of restoring touch sensation. So far, the finger has been able to distinguish between a rough and smooth surface, and we'll give you more details on that story shortly. But let's first take a look at a new spray that keeps ice from freezing on glass. This will definitely make driving safer in colder climates and, of course, in the wintertime here in Korea. Let's find out what other uses it will have next on Take a Peek.
Every winter, car windows seem to grow ice on themselves. Most car owners scrape them off or use chemicals, but the ice doesn't fall off easily. One U.S. research team has come up with a window coating spray that keeps ice from freezing on windows. The material is transparent and made of a blend of synthetic rubber, and lightly shaking the coated surface will cause the ice to fall off.
And when you have those connected at an interface, what happens is what's called interfacial cavitation, where your rubber wants to deform, your ice doesn't want to deform. That creates a stress concentrator right at that interface, causes the ice to break free.
When rubber and ice meet, there is a vacuum between the two different surfaces, so the two materials easily separate. This material was applied to glass, electric wire, and plastic, and tested in temperatures as low as -15 degrees Celsius. Even after a few months, the surfaces didn't gather ice.
At this point, we've made well over 100 different coatings with all sorts of different materials. And to our knowledge, this is some of the lowest ice adhesion strengths that have ever been reported.
This new coating is more durable than the current coatings on the market and can be applied not only to cars, but also airplane surfaces and components. Moreover, when used with a cooling system, there is no need to thaw the ice that forms internally, increasing power efficiency by 20%. The researchers hope to commercialize this technology within a year and make it available for cars and airplanes. This artificial finger is connected to a man's amputated left arm. He lost his left arm in the line of duty as a firefighter, and he is focusing on the finger while keeping his eyes closed. Whenever the finger comes across a rough or smooth surface, the brain waves fluctuate. For the first time in 13 years, he can feel textures with his left finger.
I could tell the difference between where it was very rough and smooth, and yeah, that was amazing.
The Italian and Swiss researchers behind the test placed electrodes in the amputated arm's nerves and developed an artificial finger that could feel sensations. It turns out that the finger can distinguish between rough and smooth surfaces with a 96% accuracy.
And the output of those sensors is electrical signals, and then is converted by means of an artificial neural model into this sequence of spikes.
This experiment was conducted again on a fully functioning arm. Electrodes were placed randomly on the skin, and brain waves were measured. The artificial finger stimulated the part of the brain that's activated when a real finger touches something.
We showed that it is possible to deliver to amputees a very sophisticated part of the sense of touch, which is texture discrimination.
Researchers aim to improve on the bionic finger by making it sensitive to temperature. The results of the research and experiments were published in the scientific journal, eLife. As people get married later in life, and therefore women give birth later in life, more couples are suffering from infertility. In 2010, 13% of all women in their 30s planning to have a baby received infertility treatments, and the numbers are growing. Korean researchers have found that the peony flower, a traditional medicinal ingredient, boosts the chances of successful conception.
한약재 28가지를 검색한 결과 착상과 관련된 대표적인 면역 사이토카인인 LIF가 작약에 의해서 가장 많이 증가하는 것을 확인하였고.
The researchers confirmed that peonies increase the adhesion of trophoblast cells that contribute to the placenta and endometrial cells that make up the uterine lining. Moreover, rats that were fed peony extracts and emergency contraceptives had a higher pregnancy rate than rats that weren't given peony extracts.
앞으로 이것을 임상적으로 적용하면 난임으로써 고생하시는 부부들과 또는 저출산 환경에 있어서 많은 도움이 될 것으로 보입니다.
The results of the study were published in the international academic journal, PLOS ONE.
Peonies are my all-time favorite flowers. They are just so gorgeous, and who knew that they could help boost fertility? I also know that peonies are often used in sangwacha, a really healthy medicinal Korean tea. So these flowers are not just beautiful to look at visually, but can also help us internally in many different ways. Which gets me to my next point. This week, try to pay more attention to the simple things around you. You never know how something common may turn out to have other practical and beneficial uses. This wraps up today's episode of InfoScope. We'll be back next week with more interesting and informative stories. Thank you for watching, and goodbye, everyone.